بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة لأهل التقوى واليقين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم مصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أما بعد، فقد قال المعصوم عليه الصلاة والسلام: كل شيء لك طاهر حتى تعلم أنه نجس. Dear brothers and sisters, according to the teachings of the holy Imams, the infallibles, as well as the Quran, we have been commanded to treat everything that we come across as pure. They have advised us that we should not put ourselves in difficulty, in distress and hardship unnecessarily. We should apply the rules of purity to whatever we come across, unless, of course, we are certain, we are confident that something is essentially impure or something is accidentally impure. Then in that case, we must act according to our own knowledge and according to our own insight. The religion of God, the religion of Islam, does not want us to be in difficulty or in discomfort. The Holy Quran, as I have mentioned, of course, in the previous lectures, the Holy Quran says, مَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. God does not want to impose any kind of difficulty on you in the religion. And also the Quran says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah desires and wishes you to be at ease and in comfort. He does not want us to be in difficulty and hardship and in vicissitude. So let us consider everything as clean, everything as ritually pure. Unless we are sure that something is impure, then in that case we have to stay away from it, we have to keep away from it, and we should act in the manner prescribed by the religious authorities, by jurisprudence and religious scholars. Of course, you have to bear in mind that the infallibles, including the sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, have said to his followers, to his companions, and to those who lived in his time, and to those who listened to him, to his students, that everything is ritually pure for you unless you come to know that it is ritually impure. the law, the Sharia law, declares everything to be pure unless one becomes sure that a particular item has become impure. Then, of course, in that case, you cannot consider it as impure. For example, you know, for example, that your carpet has become najis, impure, or maybe your child has urinated on it. Then you have to act according to your own knowledge, according to your own understanding. Because this knowledge, you cannot refute it, you cannot ignore it, you cannot overlook what you know. So you must take action to purify the carpet, or either you have to stay away from it, you should not offer your prayers on it. And of course, as I have produced examples, countless examples are there, of course, but I also gave a few examples of Muslims living in non-Muslim countries, Muslims living among Buddhists, Hindus, Sikhs, atheists, as well as Christians and Jews. Of course, we have to differentiate between non-Muslims. There are different types and kinds of non-Muslims. Some of them are Buddhists. Some of them are actually followers of a divine religion. The people of the book, generally speaking, the people of the book are pure. The Christians, Jews, and according to Shia scholars, the Zoroastrians are people of the book. Insofar as someone is known to be a Christian, we must consider and treat him as pure. As long as one is considered to be a Jew, then he is considered to be pure. Of course, you have a question in your mind. Okay, you would say that, okay, these people of the book, these Christians and Jews who are living in the world now, here and there in different countries, they are not monotheists. They do not follow the teaching of Moses and Jesus. And the real sense, they are somehow, we can label them as pagans or as polytheists. Even in that case, the Shia scholars, knowing that the Christians, that the present Christians are not true followers of a divine religion, they are not the true followers of Jesus and Moses, yet still they have considered these Christians and Jews, of course, as pure, as ritually pure. Now, depending on where you live and which country you live, whether a society is predominantly Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or Sikh or atheist. Now, if you are living in a predominantly Christian society and if you come across a non-Muslim, that non-Muslim individual should be considered as either a Jew or a Christian. You cannot consider him as atheist and thus consider him as ritually impure. Of course, if you are living in a country like, let's say, India, or some Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, like Taiwan, and China, and few other countries that are predominantly Buddhists. Of course, in those countries, when you come across a non-Muslim, then that non-Muslim should be treated as atheist, as Buddhist. And therefore, if his hand is wet and you shake hand with him, you must wash your hands. Or if his hand is wet and he touches you with that wet hand, he touches your clothes or your body, then part of your clothes or that part of your dress and body that have come in contact with the moisture should be washed, should be made clean. Zoroastrians are also considered as followers of a divine book. They are considered the people of the book, Ahli Kitab, according to Shia scholars. And of course, you have to make your own independent efforts as to why they are considered as people of the book and why they are considered ritually pure, ritually clean, and whether there are Zoroastrians living here and there in the world or not. This is a question that you have to conduct a research about. But as far as the Islamic law, as far as the Sharia law is concerned, I have just to tell you that they are ritually pure. Now, brothers and sisters, as I have said, the religion of Islam is a simple and easy religion. Its commandments are easy. Its injunctions, its orders are easy. And they are never meant to put you in hardship, in unbearable hardship. Wherever there is a case where you might feel that it is unbearable, or maybe the application of an Islamic law is unbearable, then you are relieved of obligation. Just I give you an example.
ناجيتك يا رحمن ودعوتك يا ديان يا خالق الإنسان الله 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 يا خالق الإنسان الله الله الله.
You are in the month of the holy month. You are in the holy month of Ramadan, and you want to observe fast. Sometimes the days are too long, or maybe you are not in a position to observe fast. Or maybe observing fast might be injurious to your health. It might affect your health negatively. In that case, you are relieved of obligation. You must not observe fast when it is feared that fasting might affect your health, might harm your health, physical health. You are relieved of obligation. And of course, if you recover after a few months, then you have to keep the qaza, you have to observe, you have to make up the missed fast. But if you never recover in that year from that month of Ramadan until the next month of Ramadan, then even qada is not obligatory on you. You are supposed to give only 750 grams of foodstuffs like wheat, barley, maize, rice. Any of these items you want to give, you can give it to the needy, to the poor, who must be faithful, who must be Shia and follower of the Ahlul Bayt, not to any needy individual, because we have different needy people. Some of them are non-Muslims, some of them are followers of other divine religions, some of them are not Shias actually. There are beggars out in the streets. You must make sure that the people whom you give the money to must be Shia, and he must be needy, and that he must be faithful, a practicing Muslim, not a Muslim simply by name, because there are some people who just consider themselves Muslims, but they are not actually following Islam. And if you help them, they might use the money, they might use the food, or maybe the thing that you give them to buy something haram or to use it in a haram way. So these are examples to help you understand that Islam never wants to put you in an unbearable situation, an unbearable difficulty. And Islam never wants to obligate you in a manner that is unbearable and insufferable for you. You are living in a non-Muslim country. Just I'm giving examples of, let's say, Indian Muslims living in India. They want to buy a house from a Hindu. Okay. Can you just consider the whole house, the whole things, the walls, the pillars, and the carpets, and everything in that house as impure? No, never. Because you do not know for sure that the house has been touched with a wet hand, or that the walls are ritually impure. No. You can consider the whole house, the entire building as clean, and it's not necessary for you to wash the doors, the metals, the gadgets and everything, because you are not 100% sure. And unless you are sure, of course you cannot consider anything as impure. The same is true with whatever you buy from the market, the food that you buy from hotels to eat, the food products, the milk products you buy from the market. You can buy them, eat them, consume them, and there's nothing to, there's no objection to you. And there's no objection to using and consuming those products. Islam is that simple. Now, dear brothers and sisters, probably I have over-explained this issue, over-explained the hadith, كل شيء لك طاهر حتى تعلم أنه نجس أو كل شيء حلال حتى تعلم أنه حرام. There are different narrations giving the same meaning and having the same purport. But we as Muslims need to understand these hadiths and to act according to them. Brothers and sisters, it is necessary to know that the pure things are innumerable. They are countless. When we say, or when the Imam says that everything on this earth and in this universe and in this world and in your environment and in your vicinity is clean, then everything is clean. Everything is pure. So the number of clean things is beyond beyond counting. You can't count those things that are clean. Everything is clean. But the number of essentially and inherently impure objects are few and far between. There are only 10 things that are essentially impure. Apart from these 10 things, the rest of the things that you use, that you come across, are pure. What are those 10 objects that are essentially impure? Not accidentally impure. Anything that can be made accidentally impure. Your hand can be made accidentally impure. The things that you use, the food that you eat may become accidentally impure. But those things which are essentially, which are intrinsically, and which are inherently impure are not more than 10 objects. Now, what are those 10 ritually impure things? I will explain and point them out one by one. The first and second, number 1 and number 2, is urine and feces. There is no doubt that the urine and feces of a human being and of animals whose meat is haram to eat, even if slaughtered according to Islamic laws, are najis. The urine and feces of a human being is ritually impure, it is unclean, there is no doubt about it, and I do not need to overemphasize it. But when it comes to animals, we have two kinds of animals. Some of them are halal and some of them are haram. But the animals whose meat are halal to eat, like cows, camels, horses, donkeys, and these animals, of course, eating donkey meat is makruh, it is abominable. Eating horse meat is makruh, but it is still permissible. When something is makruh, it does not mean that it is forbidden to eat. It is still permissible to eat. Yes. The meat, it is a general criterion, a general rule that you should keep in mind. The rule that the urine and feces of those animals whose meat are halal, whose meat is halal to eat, is clean. For example, if a cow urinates on your clothes, on your dress, it is not necessary to wash it. Of course, it is filthy. It is filthy. The dung or the dropping of a camel is filthy, but it's not impure. It's not unclean. And if your hand, if your body, if your clothes come in contact with such things, you are not supposed to wash them in order to offer prayers. It's not necessary to make yourself clean from these things, from the urine and feces of such animals for offering prayers. But those animals whose meat is haram, to eat, the urine and feces of such animals are haram. Now, brothers and sisters, there are a few animals, I should tell you, that their meat is not halal, but yet their droppings, their urine could still be clean. I will mention the exceptions. The excretion of those animals who are haram to eat, but its blood does not gush forth, like fish. There are hundreds of fish, types of fish, living in the sea. Some of them have scales and some of them do not have scales. Of course, those fish or those categories of fish that have scales, is permissible to eat them. But there are some types of fish that do not have scales. Of course, their meat is haram to eat. But their blood, their urine, their droppings, their feces, of course, are not impure. They are not najis, and therefore, if their blood, if their urine come in contact with your body, then you are not supposed to do anything. You are not supposed to purify your body or your clothes.
يا محول الحول والأحوال حول حالنا حول حالنا يا أحسن الحال.
Now, having said that, when we say that the urine of animal whose meat, whose blood does not gush forth forcefully, is not impure, does it mean that we can actually you can touch it and we should not avoid it or so and so? No. The religious scholars have mentioned in their epistles of Islamic laws that it is better, it is recommended to stay away from such things. And of course, some scholars have even said that it's an obligatory precaution. to keep away from the urine of such animals whose blood does not gush forth forcefully. We have to, as an obligate precaution, stay away from them. And also, of course, the urine and droppings of those birds which are haram to eat is pure. There are different birds whose meat we cannot eat, but their droppings, their urine are clean. But it does not mean that we should not stay away. We should stay away. And the scholars have advised us to observe precaution when it comes to the urine and dropping of such animals. Now, the third najis object, the third essentially impure object is semen. Semen of human beings is undoubtedly and of course very obviously, there is no doubt that it is clean and that is impure. It is essentially impure. Same is the case with the semen of animals whose blood gushes forth forcefully, irrespective of whether the animals are halal or haram, irrespective of the fact whether the animal's meat, if slaughtered according to Islamic law, is haram to eat or halal to eat. In either case, the semen of the animal is impure. So that is very easy. The next, and of course the fourth najis or essentially impure object is dead body. The dead body of a human being is najis, and the dead body of animals whose blood gushes forth forcefully when slaughtered, of course, is najis. The dead body of an animal whose blood comes out forcefully when slaughtered is najis. Of course, there are some parts of an animal that are not najis. For example, they are the hair, the teeth, the bones, and the horns. These things do not become najis and they do not become najis. If you touch them, you will not be made najis. Even if your hand is wet, then you will not become najis. Your hand will remain pure. But the other parts of the body are impure. When it comes to fish, of course, since fish does not have gushing blood, its blood does not gush forth, so its dead body also does not become impure. Its dead body is not impure. If you touch it, it will not affect your purity. It will remain, your hand, your body will remain pure if your body comes in contact with the dead body of a fish. Now, the fifth najis and impure object is the blood of a human being and the blood of every animal whose blood gushes forth when slaughtered. I think it is very simple. Every animal that has gushing blood, whose blood comes out forcefully when cut or when injured, including human beings, including those animals whose meat is halal to eat and whose meat is haram to eat, all of these animals have impure blood. The birds have impure blood. Their blood is impure. Even if a small drop of blood falls into a container, the whole container becomes najis, the water becomes najis. Of course, if the water is less than kur, if the quantity of water is less, But okay, if there is enough water, it is more than kur, it is kur. Inshallah, I will explain the rules of water. There are different types of water. Then, of course, that water does not become najis. But if a drop of blood, if a small particle of blood comes in contact with something, let's say with a glass of water, or with water, little water, or with the food that you want to eat, then that thing becomes impure and you have to keep away from it. And the next object that is haram and that is also najis or is dogs and pigs. There is no doubt about it. The Quran has explicitly mentioned pigs are najis and they are ritually impure. And of course, the pig, there's no doubt that it is the dirtiest animal, the most impure, ritually impure animal that can be found on earth. And we have, as Muslims, should keep away from keeping dogs if necessary. And we have to keep away from pigs. Of course, dogs, there is no objection as far as your security is concerned. If you want to keep a dog for your security reason, you can keep it in your courtyard. But do not take it inside your homes because its hair is najis, its pawns are najis. And of course, if its body is wet, then everything, your furniture, your luggage, and everything will become najis. Its hair, if you are offering prayer, and if you find its hair on your clothes, on your body, then your prayers will be made white. So you can keep a dog in your home, but it should be kept somewhere outside the living room, outside the prayer room, outside the place where you sleep, where you drink, where you eat food, and so on and so forth. So keep it outside your home, especially if you want to keep a dog for security reason. There is no problem, but you have to observe precaution, and you have to take the precautionary measures in order to make sure that your prayers are not made white. Dear brothers and sisters, as I mentioned earlier, non-Muslims are also impure, but non-Muslims, not all non-Muslims are impure. Only those non-Muslims who do not believe in a divine religion, who are atheists, who are pagans, who are Buddhists, who are Sikhs, the Hindus, and they are, of course, ritually impure. But Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians are pure, and we can interact with them, we can eat their food, and of course we can eat also the food cooked by a Hindu, provided that the food does not contain haram meat, it does not contain anything that, according to us, is impure. And so far as we do not know that the food cooked by them is impure, then we can eat their food. And so far as the food does not contain meat, especially if it is cooked by Christians and Jews, then we can eat it. And of course, if the food contains meat, then we have to make sure that the meat is halal. And if we do not know that the meat is halal, then we have to avoid eating the food. The 10th, of course, najis object is alcoholic liquor or wine and beverages. They are ritually impure. Wine is impure. If a drop of it falls into a well, the whole well becomes impure. If a drop of it falls into a container, the whole container has to be washed, and the water has to be emptied. So beverages, alcohol, of course, alcoholic liquors are impure. And according to some scholars, of course, industrial alcohol is not impure. Industrial alcohol is not impure. For example, if you use perfume and the perfume has alcohol, it is not impure. You can use the perfume even if it contains alcohol, because according to most scholars, as far as I know, an industrial alcohol is not najis. It does not affect your prayer. It does not affect your religious acts and deeds. Of course, you can use perfume, you can use anything that contains industrial alcohol, but you cannot drink alcohol. Alcohol is haram to drink, even if it is clean. Generally speaking, intoxicants are haram to drink. It does not make any difference whether it is in the form of a liquid or in the form of something else, whether it is weeds or hashish or you can say marijuana. You can't use them, you can't consume them, because they are considered as intoxicants. And of course, the last essentially object which is haram, is the sweat of an animal who persistently eats najasa. The perspiration of an animal that eats najasa, even if that animal is halal essentially, but since it eats najasa and it's used to eating najasa, then the perspiration of that animal is haram, is impure, and we have to keep away from it. And remember one thing, that some scholars have not mentioned the unbeliever as impure, and they have avoided using the unbeliever, telling that the unbelievers are impure. Some of the risalas I have read, some of the epistles of Islamic laws I have gone through, do not mention the unbelievers as impure. For some reason, which they know themselves better, and for some expediency, of course, they have not mentioned it. Otherwise, if you make a telephone call, and if you face them and ask them directly from them that whether an atheist or a Buddhist is ritually impure or not, they will tell you that he is impure. Inshallah, in the next session to come, we will further explain the rules of impurity, the rules of purity, and there are many, many issues to be discussed and to be elaborated. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
اللهم اختم بعفوك أجلي وحقق في رجاء رحمتك أملي وسهل إلى بلوغ رضاك سبلي وحسن في جميع أحوالي عملي.